Hey guys, it's Abby. I'm just sitting in my car again and waiting for someone to show up to drop a delivery off for my dad. And so I'm taking a break because it's a bit toasty out. I've been doing some work on some things, but the sun's getting a little bit sharp on my skin, and I feel like if I don't cool down, then I'll get overheated. But I've been currently just trying to soak in this weather because I don't know. I think it's actually going to be fall. I think we might get to enjoy a slightly cooler temperature. Not too cool, obviously, because I'm getting overheated, but that's not that hard to do. And I've just noticed a lot of the trees are turning, and leaves are on the ground now, and not just like sad old leaves that have been there a long time, like new, freshly fallen leaves. And the other morning, there was a smell in the air. It was that crisp fall air smell, the decomposing leaves, and I want to say it's like it's earth, but it's also something else. I don't know what it is. It's a bite in the air that's almost winter, but it's not quite there yet. And that was there the other morning when it was really cold. And I woke up and the windows were open in the upstairs bedroom, and it was delicious because you get to stay snugly under the covers, but your nose can be a little bit cold sometimes. And then when you're ready to get out of bed, it's a little bit of a shock, but it kind of wakes you up better, because when in the summer, you don't necessarily, I don't feel really very well rested because I get so hot when I'm sleeping that I feel like getting out of the bed is just going into more heat. Like, even if we have the AC on, it's not the right kind of cold. And so I just feel like really lethargic in the summer months. But in the fall months, and sometimes in the winter months too, I am excited for that shock of cool air when you get out of the blankets and you go across the floor, and the bedroom it's wood, and it feels nice on your feet, and so you'll skitter across the floor and put on a robe or sweatshirt or something to cover up, and it just kind of wakes me up a little bit better. It doesn't necessarily do the job that a nice shower in the morning does. I'm definitely a shower every morning type of girl. It's like my cup of coffee. I mean, it is my cup of coffee because coffee doesn't really wake me up because I can't have a lot of caffeine, so I'm drinking decaffeinated coffee. So obviously the pick me up, it's all psychological. But yeah, so fall is here, if only for a day or two. And I was just thinking about the things I like to do when the weather gets like this. And I think it's really important to slow down and do those weird little things that give you joy at this time of year. Anytime the seasons change. I've mentioned before, I love Halloween, but it's not just the holiday. The holiday's kind of a throw-in. It's that build-up before winter of the spooky, the ethereal, that transition that's coming, the harvest. And I like leading up to that with my decor and activities. And I love listening to classic ghost stories and spooky stories. There's a great podcast. It's called, let me think. It's narrated by Tony Walker, and it's called, I think it's Classic Ghost Stories. I think it's a pretty generic name, so it's kind of hard for me to remember. But it's got the icon for it is black with a white ghost outline, like a specter outline, and it's really good. It's one of my favorite podcasts. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts because I don't know, I don't actually. I should listen to more. I have a whole list of ones that I need to get on, but that one is great for the colder months. In the winter, I will, in the evenings when I'm by myself, or, the house is quiet, I will snuggle under a blanket, a fluffy blanket, and sit in front of my fireplace, and I will do hand sewing projects, things that are too fiddly to sew on a sewing machine, and I will, sew those while I listen to these classic ghost stories. And I make sure to wear earbuds, at least just one ear, so I can hear with the other. So the narrator's voice is right there in my ear, and it makes it extra spooky because it's like I'm being told this ghost story, like he's right there in the room. And I find it very relaxing and cathartic to be doing something with my hands while I listen to something that is making me use my brain. And it got me through the winter. Because honestly, I find December specifically, I don't know why I find that month so hard. January is a bit tough too, but I think it's the lead up to Christmas, and there's a lot of expectations for that holiday in my memory. And I love giving gifts. I love making gifts, giving gifts, hunting for things for people. So that's the part of Christmas that I really enjoy, But the rest of it kind of, I don't know, it feeds on my anxiety somehow, or my anxiety feeds on it, I don't know, but I'm not 100% fully invested in Christmas time yet. I much prefer Halloween, harvest time, but one of my ways of getting around it is kind of to bring those two seasons together with these spooky ghost stories, because actually it was very standard for, I don't know how long they did it for, but for quite a while in the past, it was a normal practice to tell spooky ghost stories and spooky tales on Christmas Eve. And so I think that's where this whole idea of the Christmas Carol, where it is it's essentially a ghost story, why that fits in so perfectly, because of this tradition that was around for a while. And I think it'd be fun to bring that back. I know it's not what we normally think of when we think of Christmas. We think of things like, the Polar Express or It's a Wonderful Life, which technically I guess is kind of like a ghost story. If you've seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart, he's almost like the ghost of himself. And when he doesn't have his, hasn't been born, a ghost of his memory, before he came on Earth. Anyway, so, and what's this idea of angels and ghosts? They're kind of linked too, these beings that have passed on somehow, coming back. onto the earth and interacting with people there. So yeah, very interesting kind of it's maybe not interesting at all, but that's the point of these talks, is to maybe just bore you to sleep. And so I'm fine with that. You don't find that interesting, but I enjoy this crossover between the spooky and this Christmas content and that time of year, just winter in general. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas, the winter months are just incredibly spooky and chilling because we have the temperatures dropped, the idea of cold, and then contrasted with fires. Those two things put together kind of create a spooky element, and that we see in a lot of ghost stories and the telling of ghost stories around the campfire and that kind of thing. Snow, for a lot of people who have snow in the winter, it's otherworldly sometimes. The way it reflects the moonlight is startling. Like, you can't even almost believe how bright it is sometimes at night in the winter. And it's all around you, and it's just hanging there, this presence of cold. And you move through it, and it interacts with you. I don't know, I find that quite spooky. And just the fact that the days are shorter and the nights are longer, that in itself, big creepy factor. And that's why there's this desire, there's this connection to the spirits coming out right before the weather changes, the seasons change into winter, and that the veil between worlds is thinnest at that time of year. And that's kind of where Samhain and Halloween come into play. But then there's also that surviving through winter into spring, and I think that change is also, it's like winter leaves its ghost behind as spring starts to appear. These little traces of snow and cold and brisk air and long nights that are slowly getting shorter and shorter until they dissipate. I think this is probably just because I'm someone who enjoys the spooky, that I can see it in all of these kind of seasonal changes, but I don't mind. And maybe this is a quiet enough chat to help you drift off into your seasons of change. Perhaps it's sleep, or it's transitioning in your day. And I hope that you have a lovely seasonal change. I hope that you have a great whatever comes next. And yeah, sorry, I'll just let us drift off together on a trailing thought, on the breathing. Today is a good day, and I hope it can be that for you. Alright. Bye-bye.